So I'm doing so much better. I think about where I was when I started and where I am now, and I'm really doing much better. I remember saying to a friend, like, I've had 11 good days in a row, and she said, I wish you didn't have to count, but that's good. And then it went into 3.5 weeks of feeling good. And I find now that weekends I don't dread because I think I wasn't, every weekend for a while there, I would end up just in tears but I feel like I haven't even cried in a long time. So even though it like hurts,
Yeah.
it's a very different kind of hurt. It's more like, all right, like, let's get this done. And I'm surrounded by great friends. And then this group, I mean, the check-ins that we do together it's really great. So he was still living here. And he had told me, so we talked on November 3rd. It was October 5th that he said he wanted a separation. And then we were just kind of living in separate bedrooms. But actually, the night of November 15th, the first class, that day, he told me he wanted to get back together. And I was, I was like, well, let's work on it. We can do a counselor. And then he even said, I don't think you need to do that class. And I was like, I'm going to do the class. And it's a good thing because the very next week he took back everything he said. But I needed that. And I needed to do that class because it was just like more, Anne had recommended a book to me. And it was more just like everything I listened to. I was like, he's going to keep trying this. And he did. He kept trying up until 2 weeks ago. So, I felt empowered. But really at the very beginning of that first class, I almost felt like I was like not supposed to be there, in the sense that everyone else was like much further on their journey. And I was like, well, we're still kind of living together because he hasn't moved out yet. And, but then they were with me for all of those moments when he did move out and everything. But the relief when he moved out was great. But yeah, I was at I wasn't in denial at that point, but I was at the very beginning stage of like accepting what's to come.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
so I feel, first of all, very comfortable in my own self. Like I feel like much more confident. I'm okay doing things alone. Um, so I was supposed to have lunch today with a friend, and he had the booster shot. And this is like a college friend from years. And he said, I'm sorry, I can't go. And then I was like thinking, well, I can still go out to lunch if I want. Like, so I guess I feel like I've really evolved in, at first it was just an act of being strong for the boys. But now I feel it, like when my plans changed 2 months ago, that would have made me probably cry, like, okay, so now I don't have any plans today. What am I going to do? And this time I was like, well, I have some returns I need to make. And maybe I can cook a nice dinner. So I just feel more at peace with like who I am, and with the fact of like, I'm okay. And I'm just getting better, because even the lows now are not the lows that were. I feel like a different person, absolutely different person. So in a very good way.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And this is in 10 weeks, right?
Yes. Yes. So it was 11, but even so, like, I can't even believe the person that I was. I had so the week before Christmas, I was in Disney with my mom and the kids, and my sisters and husbands were never invited on that. So that was good because all the boys were together and everything. But it was the night before we left that I found out for sure. And then I missed group that night or that week because I was in Disney, but they recorded it, and I got the recording. And when I was like up at 2 o'clock in the morning in Disney, I watched that group for 2 hours, and it completely grounded me again. Like, all right, you're going to be okay. And I was able to really move forward. I know I just digressed a lot, but I just feel like the tools I've been given, like the videos, like when I am having a downtime, it's like, okay. And like, let's like hit it head on and see where I can go from there. So I never thought I would be here in 10 weeks. I like, cause I really just, and everybody you listen to, they're like, oh, it's going to take like a year. It'll take 2 years. And although I know I'm not over and just like that, but I feel like I'm okay. And then I just handle everything that comes. And then I get back to like my normal self. So I've actually recommended this class to 2 other people that I know are going through. One I know won't do it because she thinks she can do it. She's already in another relationship, which I explained was probably not the smartest thing, but it's not my life. But yeah, everything's so much better right now. I just see so much more clearly. I wonder at the end of December and January, when he kept saying he wanted to get back together, it's because of the reading and it's because of the conversations I've had that I was like, but you don't need to get back together. Like, that's not what you want. And you weren't happy. So like in my head, had I not gone through those first 5 classes of grief and anger and everything, I'm not sure that I would have processed it. Wasn't the best thing to get back together, like but feel like I really hit things head on. And yeah, I have tools. It's funny because I would start some chapters like the mask chapter and stuff, and I'd be reading. I'm like, oh, well, this isn't really me. Like that, I don't have this. And then we talk about it in group, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, so that's where I learned so much about myself. And a lot of that has even nothing to do with divorce, right? It's just about like learning who you are. And so I felt like I loved the book, but if I would have done the book without the group, I'm not sure I would have gotten as much out of it, because the process, I wouldn't have had anybody to talk through and process it with, just like a book club, right? Like it's, so I did love the book and I found it to be so helpful. I realized through this reading and through the masks and everything that I in fact, was a people pleaser and had not really stuck up for myself at all for the past few years. And I realize now, like, so I feel like the book with the class really helped. I think the book would have helped without the class, but the processing part of it wouldn't have been there. So, she'd ask a question and then you could just see it turn. And so I just feel like we all just evolved so much, but it was like a safe space. And that's what I think I liked, is that it was just safe and there was no judgment from anyone. And Anne's just very gifted in her ability to listen and coach and paraphrase. And, like when she says, so you're saying, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize I was saying that, but yeah. Like, I loved how the first 5 were like really reflecting, and I loved how the last 5 were really kind of focusing on you and growing as a person. Yeah, I think 10 weeks was a really good length. I think 2 hours was necessary. There was never a time when I was looking at the clock like, okay, when is this? So I feel like 2 hours was a really good time. And being on the East Coast, I loved that it was from 8 to 10, because I could still do my Pilates and still help my son with his homework and everything. And then I would just go upstairs. So it was perfect for me. In therapy, and she was a very nice woman, but I just felt like it was more talking just about feelings, and it wasn't pinpointing like the divorce itself. It was pinpointing, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but I guess I felt like it was just more fluffy, like just more fluff. And I kind of felt like a lot of the stuff, I would be given homework, but the homework she would give me is, practice just sitting in a chair and breathing and things like that, which is fine. I'm not like, but I already have like Pilates to channel that. And I felt like the homework I was given in this class, and it was really like, all right, let's head on, look at this anger. And so I feel like the class really helped me like deal with that grieving process like head on. And then, so it wasn't just one person that I didn't know very well, like with therapy, it was like one person and she doesn't know what anything in my life was like. So we would talk about like the sadness of that, but I didn't want to just dwell on the sadness. I wanted to move forward. So I felt like it was just a much slower process. And now be so real with everyone. I just feel like it just took it to a different level. It was just like something had switched and I was like, okay, like I can do this. I can go to the next thing. And so I felt like everything in the class, I would recommend this over therapy, hands down, because I felt like we had to deal with it and process it with other people that also were going through the same thing. I think, and I had never been in a support group or anything like that before. So I didn't really know what to expect. And then I just felt like when you're just with one person and you're just really focusing on cognitive behavior therapy, so like meditations and stuff, which are great, but that wasn't helping me move forward in the process of what I was trying to get through. So, so I guess everybody's different, but I would hands down recommend something like this over therapy if you're going through a divorce. I'm sure she shared that with you in our group. She said, I have been through thousands of hours of therapy and nothing has helped me like this group. And then you're talking 10 weeks, 20 hours. If somebody comes out of this group and says, I didn't get anything out of it, it's because they didn't put anything into it. Like, I don't think there's any way you can take this group, do the homework, do the discussion, and not get anything out of it, because it's exactly what you need to help propel you to get through the bad stuff. Mm-hmm. I would say I would join it. I would call and talk to Kevin as soon as you can so that you can learn more about it. And then I actually did say to my one friend, I said, like, this class forced me to really dive into every part of who I am and my relationship and who I am as an authentic person even. And I'm not great with words all the time, but I would say, like, you need to give it a try, because I can't imagine having gone through the last 10 weeks without this group. Like, I know I would not be in the same place. And I feel like I had a friend who has a friend who got divorced, and she ordered her friend the book. And then I said, but you can't just stop at the book. You got to go to Rebuilders International. I don't know if it ever happened, but I mean, I do feel like my friends have seen a big change in me. Like, the people saying, like, I just can't believe how strong you are. And in the beginning, it was just fake, right? Like, I was just putting on this face, but now I'm like, okay, like, letting people know, like, I'm having a tough day. Do you want to go out for coffee? And just, so, yeah. So I would tell somebody, like, don't cheat yourself out of this. Like, this is something that if you hit head on, you'll be able to navigate through it.
Awesome.
So I'm so thankful. Like, I really can't, like, so thankful. I mean, I just feel like in every aspect of my life, I'm not gonna make the same mistakes. Like, yeah, I'm just thankful. I don't even know. I will tell everyone I know that's going through something like this, like, you've got to do it. If you have somebody that's on the fence, you can give them my phone number and give me a heads up, and I would be happy to talk to them that you absolutely need to do this for yourself. I mean, and I feel like you make it easy as far as how to pay for it. Like, that wasn't even, and I'm in a fortunate situation that I could pay for it, but I feel like even that, you make it so you don't have to worry about it. Because when we were first talking, you're like, well, do what you need to do, what you're comfortable with. And I think that even that part, you take that away from people, that worry of, I can't do this because I don't have enough money, like, so I would pay so much more money for this class. It's so worth it. Like, I feel like this class has changed my life and how I'm dealing with what's to come. And it's given me the tools that I need. So when I am having bad days, that I have tools. I can watch a video. I can reflect on my notes from when we're talking about grief and anger. And I went back, read anger again, you know, like, and read my letter again. I think that I think it's a great value for the money. Like, I think that when you think about therapy and how much therapy costs per session, this is, I think it's a bargain, you know. Yeah, it's a bargain.